actual day my son was diagnosed, I remember this. I remember seeing some of my son's activities that were very quote unquote strange, not normal. At that time, me and my wife at that time, his mother, was going through a lot of ups and downs in our marriage. And I was dealing with a lot personally, unemployed, still dealing with baggage from my mom. She was actually homeless for a very long time before she passed away. So not knowing where she was at, dealing with the hurt with that, not knowing where my dad was at that time. There was a lot of different things as a man that I was dealing with. So you take the fact that now I'm looking at my son and saying, oh, something's not right, something's not normal, that's another baggage that I had to add on. Mm-hmm. So me and her had a civil conversation where we said, we have some questions and some concerns, and we're going to go take him to get diagnosed. So we did actually go to CHOP, which is funny because, now I work for them. I actually was in the building where he was diagnosed at after all of this. And, I remember being in a car, and this is 100% transparent with you guys.
Hello and welcome to the Disrupt the Everyday podcast. We're here to help you navigate life while disrupting the status quo. Our discussions cover a number of topics relevant to everyday life. We discuss everything from relationships to entrepreneurship. We also engage in some difficult but important conversations. And now, here are your hosts, Brian and Tanya Hamilton.
Welcome to another episode of the Disrupt the Everyday podcast. On today's episode, we're joined by Jamiel Owens. Jamiel, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm definitely blessed by being here.
Oh, well, we're blessed to have you. So we're going to start off, Jamiel, by learning a little bit about you. Who is Jamiel Owens?
Okay, I was just telling your wife I was going to say nobody because nobody. That's it. Drop mic. But first and foremost, I'm a father. I'm an advocate. I'm a husband. I'm a brother. I'm a son. Author, firefighter, ex-corrections. I'm a teacher. I'm an educator. I'm a listener. I'm a lover of others. And I guess that could be everything. I'm thinking that could probably be everything. Most importantly, among all of that is, I'm a child of God, which I really take serious. That's my father. So amongst everything that you see or hear today in this interview, or if you go and follow me and see everything above anything else, is the first and foremost that I am a child of God. I wouldn't be able to do anything in my past and currently right now without my faith and love for him and understanding that he provides all of this for me. It just, I just got to work for it. I just got to work. I got to sow them seeds, that's it.
That sounds good. Now, the one thing you mentioned is, being an advocate, and I guess I'll maybe steal a little bit of your thunder and what that means to you, because, I also see you refer to yourself as a dadvocate. So let's unpack that a little bit.
So, during this time in my journey since 2014, when I really started, being an advocate, being an awesome dad, being a dadvocate, I really didn't understand what that was. I didn't understand that until I was knee deep in my own transgressions, trying to understand who I was as a man, looking at my failures, like face forward, like right here in my face, and then really understanding what my mom did for me when I was growing up. So I grew up with a physical disability called the AV fistula on my right leg. So my mom advocated for me for my confidence, for my self-preservation out here in the world, for other people to understand what type of care I need, what type of services I may need in order to be what we consider a functional individual in society. So at that pinnacle point where, I was pretty much smack dead in everything wrong in my life, and everything was just crap, that's when I really understood what my role was as an advocate. And then as a father, you put those things together, which is it's the most tremendous amount of strength that you could possibly be. You're already strong and you're already motivated to watch over your kids and to be there for your child. But then put advocate behind it, where you have a sense of responsibility to speak out for other individuals, which or may not know, but you see on social media or passing by, that may not have the inclination to talk for themselves. That's where that whole feeling, that term came from. And it catapulted me into a different level of my life. So it wasn't about me. It wasn't about just my son. Now it was about everybody else, and trying to make sure I encompass everything that was involved in that, which was my son, my family, friends, things of that nature. So that's really where I got the strength from that, and where that all came from.
All right. No, I want to actually rewind back a little bit, because the one thing that you mentioned was your mom advocating for you, and I'm sure that's that's been a big part of what you do today. So can we talk about your younger years? How your mom had to advocate for you, and also just for anybody who may not be aware, exactly what that physical disability means.
So let's break down the physical disability, the AV fistula. What it is that my leg appears to be larger. My right leg appears to be larger than my left leg, because it's when you look at the vein chart of a human body, that veins run all throughout your body. There are two main veins that run throughout your leg and comes right back up. That allows circulation to flow through your body. Well, my right leg is actually missing a portion of that vein. So my blood actually stopped and dispersed into my actual body, my mass of my body. So what the doctors had to do is, when I was actually born, they had to go into my leg, and they took one of the smallest veins right on the outside. Well, not the outside, but close to the outside of the actual leg itself. And they actually put in a port and made that the main vein for my body. So the circulation continues. Obviously, it's not at the same interval, that one of the larger vein vessels would be. But it's amazing what the body does. The human body compensates for everything over time. So that's the breakdown of my leg. That's basically all it is. It presents itself just a little bit bigger. I have to wear what is called a stocking, compression stocking, just to make sure that it doesn't expand out of its normal grasp. What that could lead to is like maybe lesions, or it could be all different types of things. A little bit of pain too, which I've experienced younger in my life. But now, as I gotten older and worked out a little bit more, especially with running helps regulate that pretty well. So that's a little bit about the leg. As far as my mom, so you have to break it down. So we're thinking about single mother, home, African American woman raising a son, later on 2 sons, in the absence of no male role model. So breaking down just me as the single child at first, knowing that she had a son with special needs, it was always love. My mom was my best friend. She was somebody that we joked around in, but when it came down to crunch time and she needed to be the disciplinary, that was her. She was there. She advocated me because she always instilled in me that no matter what, people need to see you for you. So you have to give them something to look at, and it has to be something of substance. It can't be something where you're just out here and you're doing difficult things and you're wilding out and stuff like that. It can't be that. It has to be something of substance. So, unfortunately, seeing her ups and downs in dating, in relationships, made me not want to be the type of man that was hurting her, but more so the man that she was looking for. I started to piece together, I guess, my identity on who I wanted to be as a man, caring, compassionate, you know, love R&B music or romantic, you know, those things, because I knew my mom was looking for those. Um, but every man that she actually did meet, it was a make or break with me. So it was like, if my son don't like you, we can't even talk. And then on top of that, I remember, and this is crazy, but I remember this, she would first and foremost put up front what was going on with me. So my legs, so it wouldn't be stares or questions in front of me to make me feel anything awkward. She would just basically say, hey, you know, my son has this medical condition. He's fine. He doesn't need any extra services, but, you know, he has to take care of his health. And I really appreciate that, because it's like, okay, either you take it or you don't take it, you know, you take it or leave it, and then that's it. So it was really, really important to her to continue to advocate for me throughout her time here on this earth. She passed away, but, you know, as that time went on, it was important for her to advocate for me as her son, because she knew, I don't know how moms know, but she knew that I would need that strength later on in life. So that's what it looked like. Unpackage. You take a single parent home. A woman's doing her best thing, working about 2 or 3 jobs. A lot of my, you know, youth activities such as band or things like that, she missed. But I never held that against her, because I knew when I needed my mom to step up for me and really say, hey, you know, this is my son. This is who he is. You guys need to leave him alone or accept him. I knew I can count on her. So, you know, that's who she was. You know, God rest her soul. She was an amazing woman. And always taught me how to just be better than the rest, whatever that may be. Always be always be better, you know. So
yeah, and it's interesting, right? And you know, just from hearing what you said, she normalized it. You know, like, okay, yes, this is what we're dealt with, and I'm sure, you know, that was a lot for her even at the time, but it's like, this is you. You're still going to be better. You're still going to do great things. And, you know, made that normalize for you as you grew up, right? So that you could even accept yourself, right? Because I think sometimes too, if it's, you know, you hear the stories of, okay, maybe I was babied a little bit because of this, or I didn't get to experience this because my parents wanted to shelter me, maybe from embarrassment, whatever it could be. We know that doesn't, you know, help any child. And by putting you out there and just saying, and we've heard so many times on the show when we've talked to people like, no, my parents just sent me to school in a wheelchair. And, you know, I was supported and I was this and I was that. And like, I'm so thankful that they did that. Right. So yeah, that's
and I would even take it a step further and say that wouldn't have been conducive to careers in both corrections and fire services.
Like I'll be like, no, I can't do that. I can't do that. No. Why? What? Oh no. I mean, it's remarkable how far we've come as society, but also too, we're still so far behind, because it's like a double-edged sword. We are telling people to be themselves, be original, do you, be you. But yet we treat, you know, those individuals with disabilities, whether it be intellectual disabilities, physical disabilities, as second-class citizens. And this is the real, we do. You know, we don't, you know, the ADA, you know, the act is out. And I kind of chuckle at it, and is no disrespect to the lawmakers who actually passed it, but it's not really doing anything for our disability community. It's only given a baseline of where companies need to be and where people and organizations should be at. But it's a choice if you would like to meet that baseline. It's not something that's mandated. So you have people out here who are struggling to even get things like ramps put into their residence when they need it, when they actually need to get into their house. They're paying rent and they're asking their landlord, but they can't even get a ramp because the landlord is a slumlord. He just doesn't want to do it. Or you have, you know, 20-something autistics working at grocery stores, you know, only working 2 or 3 days out the week, making like $13 to $15 an hour. how is somebody living off that wage these days? You
Mhm.
know, and who is advocating for them? It's surely not the supermarket, because they feel as though, oh, well, you know, we
They've
follow
done.
the guidelines, you know,
Right.
and it's a shame, you know, like it I was about it's funny because I wanted to um I have a couple pages written of a book which address, you know, those with disabilities as second class citizens, because I
Mhm.
honestly do feel that for those who really cannot, treated just like second class citizens. They are not seen, they're overlooked, they're given pity. Why are you giving pity to someone that is able to do something? It may present different, but they're able to do it. So, you know, it comes in full circle with me being an advocate. Like, my son is not going to go through this.
Mhm.
And my heart became bigger because I'm like, not only is not my son going to go through this, but somebody else's son is not going to go through this. Somebody else's family is not going to go through this. And I really just put myself up as the poster child, just literally got up the next day and was like, okay, how am I going to do this? It was like, I don't know which way to go. And I was just following my heart with everything that I did. Everything that I did, I just followed my heart. And that was my roadmap.
Yeah, and you know what? With that, because when you're parenting, and if your parenting style is similar to your mom's, you've taught your son who has autism that, you know, like, pretty I'm guessing, you know, yes, these are your different abilities, but you're still able to do what you want to do. It may look different, right? And you're
Mhm,
encouraging your son. And we've heard, you know, just with interviews too, that once they finish high school, it's like they
mhm,
live this full life, and once they finish high school, there's that roadblock right there.
yep.
Because like you're saying, okay, sure, you know, grocery store, what have you, but you can only go so far. So everything you've instilled, it's like, shoot, the door slams.
Mhm,
And that's it right there. What you're trying to do is continue that, keep that door open, right? And so many people out there. And yeah, I definitely appreciate that, to see that there are options. Sure, maybe not every job is going to work. And we know that not every job is
mhm.
going to work for all of us, right? But yeah, that's, you know, that's the thing, navigating it as a child. But how do you continue as a parent?
So I'm glad you brought that up. So we're talking about you know, that transition period, you know, after high school. So I'm very happy you brought that up, because not only am I still doing, you know, my advocacy work through my nonprofit Awesomeness Incorporated. You know, I have my platform, the Awesome Show, but now I am the family relations coordinator at the Center for Autism
Okay.
at CHOP. So one of our biggest pushes right now is our transition to adulthood program,
Okay.
which, you know, enables three components: clinical, research, and education. And what we are realizing is that there is a cliff that our autistic individuals fall off of. You can go anywhere around the world. This cliff exists everywhere. Why?
Mhm.
Because services stop at school age.
Right.
So, you know, shout out to the governors and the senators who just passed Act 55. If you guys don't know what that is, it's an act passed for the 2022-2023 school year, basically explaining that autistic individual who has successfully completed high school by the high school requirements can stay an additional year in school, just to help as far as the transition period. You know, once that happens, what happens? You know, what I can say is that, you know, me having my son who is 14 now in the ninth grade, it's a
Mhm.
smack right in my face. Like, okay, what's
It's
going
coming.
on? What am I going to do? Luckily, I'm blessed enough where Shane is his function now is very high. He is actually looking forward towards working, driving, you know, moving out on his own, so many different things. But once again, what does that look like for him? That's where he's going to need the assistance at.
Mhm.
My important message for parents, caretakers, autistics themselves: look at where you are at right now and look at where you want to be. If you draw it out on paper, it's going to look so difficult to do because it's going to have that gray area, that space in between. don't mind the gray area in the space. That's actually room for growth. That's how you look at it. So what is going to be your room for growth? We're starting this program. There's other transition programs that are out there and are available right now. And if someone needs a transition program, they can always contact me directly. So I'm sure after this, we're going to have contact information.
Oh, yeah.
Contact me directly. But it is important, parents, that you start thinking about this right now. What does that look like? Is it financial? Is it para-related? Is it paraprofessional related? Is it medical? What does that look like for you right now? And how are you setting that up for your child? Because we're not going to be here forever. Mm-hmm. Our children are expected to live past us. So what are you doing right now to make sure that they will be successful in the future? To the governors and the senators, what's going on with the transition period? Once again, we're talking about the ADA and we're talking about the loss of services. This act that you guys passed is beautiful, but it doesn't include anything to help our autistics out in the future. So we're missing there. We're missing that crucial component to help continue with our child into adulthood. Why haven't we passed anything? I remember President Biden signing a bill. I believe that was like $3 billion in additional funding for those individuals who are disabled. Where's that money going? Is any of it going to adulthood programs, transition programs? Is any of it? Because I haven't seen it, and I know people in the Black and brown communities definitely didn't see it. So what are we doing in order to educate, to listen, and to ensure that everybody has the equal opportunity to a successful life, whatever that may look like? Because we don't have to mold the life. We just have to help them get to where they deem successful, where my son deems successful. That's my role, is to make sure he has a easy, flawless transition. And then whatever he does with his life, as long as he's successful in his eyes and his heart, that's all that matters. But we need to help.
No, for sure. 100% on that one. And, it's interesting, right? Because if you're a parent and, you're just dealing with a 3-4-year-old and, maybe going through a diagnosis right now, you're in the present, right? Mm-hmm. And even for parenting any child, you're in the present. You don't always go too far into the future, but so important, especially when you're dealing like you were saying for your son, right? But can we go back and talk about when your son first got diagnosed? And I would love to hear, being the mother, how that impacted you as his father.
So I'm right here. This is my first book. Life is a Puzzle. God gave you a cheat sheet, a 15-day devotional for fathers. So that's a question that I get asked a lot. It's like, all right, so you came out here swinging. What did you think when your son got that that diagnosis, that label? And one of the chapters in here, I don't think I'm gonna be able to find it in time, but one of the chapters in here, it definitely I put that in here. Let me see. All right, I'm not gonna hold you guys. So I can say it off the top of my head, but definitely check out this book. This book actually entails a lot about my life, but it goes along with biblical scripture. So every portion of my life, down to anger, self-doubt, things like that, it's in this book. I keep it all open with you guys and just be transparent. So I did write an article that put it all out on the line as far as the actual day my son was diagnosed. I remember this. I remember seeing some of my son's activities that were very quote unquote strange, not normal. At that time, me and my wife at that time, his mother, was going through a lot of ups and downs in our marriage. And I was dealing with a lot personally, unemployed, still dealing with baggage from my mom. She was She was actually homeless for a very long time before she passed away. So not knowing where she was at, dealing with the hurt with that, not knowing where my dad was at that time. It was a lot of different things as a man that I was dealing with. So you take the fact that now I'm looking at my son and saying, oh, something's not right, something's not normal, that's another baggage that I had to add on. Mm-hmm. So me and her had a civil conversation where we said, we have some questions and some concerns, and we're going to go take him to get diagnosed. So we did actually go to CHOP, which is funny because, now I work for them. I actually was in the building where he was diagnosed at after all of this. And, I remember being in a car, and this is 100% transparent with you guys. I remember lying to my wife and telling her that everything is going to be okay and that I am going to be here. I'm telling you guys, I lied to her. And the reason why I did that was I felt the pressures of being a man and having that alpha role and saying that I had to be the strongest one in the pack at that time, where I should have actually, for one, not been a coward and been more of a man and be like, you know what? I don't think I can handle this. Two, I have really strong feelings about, not being present. If this is something, I don't think I can be here. I don't think I can do this. I should have been upfront with her at the time. And I really wasn't, because I was more worried about how that would look from the outside looking in. So we drive up. She gets out the car with our son Shane, and she goes into the meeting. And once again, this is in the article. Once again, I contemplated on just driving, not even going to the meeting, but just driving, because I knew deep down in my heart that there was going to be a yes. I knew deep down in my heart from seeing what he was doing at home to getting to that drive that there will be something diagnosed. And I didn't know how to take it. I was more of a coward than what I was as far as being a partner and a co-parent at that time. But something told me, was like, Jay, you got to stay here. You got to go up there. You got to face the music. So I parked the car and I stayed in my car for a little bit. And, I was very nervous. And she called me, was like, you going to come up? And yeah, I'm up. Turned off the car, walked upstairs. The doctor at that time was very, very cold, very not reassuring on the diagnosis, but did tell us, Mr. and Mrs. Owens, your son Shane has autism. And I sat there for a minute and I just looked, was like, see, now I feel stupid. I look stupid. It wasn't even about my son. It was like, oh, instantly, this is me. This is a bad mark on me. This is, how could this be? Oh, it can't be my family. It must be your family. Speaking about his mom, it didn't come from my family because nobody has that on my side. So instantly went into finger pointing. And then once again, I covered it up. We talk about masks and people wearing them. I covered it up and said, oh, baby, it's going to be okay. I'll never leave your side. These are the things that I actually said. And I hope that, men and fellas who have gone through it, maybe haven't gone through it, or haven't had that chance, will see this and realize that you do not need to be strong in front of your partner. You actually need to be at your most vulnerable state in front of your partner, because that is your partner. You two are going to figure this out together, but you can't figure out something if there is a wall blocking the love. She can't love you right, and you can't love her right if there is a wall of ego and pride blocking that connection. That's a failed connection that will never be able to reconnect unless you get rid of that wall. And I never did. What did I do? I sat there and got the diagnosis, spilled all that good game in her ear, got in the car. Exactly that night, I went out drinking. I was out in the bar. I was out in the club. I remember that night, I stayed out till maybe 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, trying to drown my sorrows and everything else in the world, instead of sitting there and figuring out what my wife at that time needed, and most importantly, what my son needed. And then just really unpacking everything and trying to figure out what my new role and my position is with this diagnosis. The unfortunate trail that you leave because of this ended up with us divorcing. And, you know, that was even more because now I had a son that wasn't normal, a diagnosis, a divorce. I had, you know, a trail of deceit and lies that I made. So now I had all this that I had to put on my back. And it was too much at times. I will be upfront and personal. One of my books that I put out there is speaking about depression. I tried to commit suicide plenty of times because it was too much for me. I didn't have anybody to talk to. Excuse me, nobody knew how to effectively communicate with me about autism, about being a young Black father in the autism community. What did that look like? What is my purpose here? Nobody talked about that. Being a role model as far as my community or being a good spouse to my wife at that time. Nobody taught me these things. There was nobody around. And you know, it was a very good friend who stopped me from committing that suicide that day. And I never forget who he is. He knows who he is when he sees this. But it was those things that I know God was just like, you're not out the game yet. You are not out the game yet. I'm in fact going to build you up, and I'm going to build you up so big that people are going to be intimidated to actually sit there and believe that you're the one speaking this, talking about this, actually out here doing it, because your physical demeanor is going to look like you wouldn't be caught out here doing what you're doing, but your heart is going to speak through that. They're going to see your heart first more than anything else on your physical demeanor. It was a life-changing moment that I needed, because I can tell you right now, if Shane wouldn't have got diagnosed with autism and I didn't start to see the love that he was given from me, I would have probably been in jail, maybe even dead. Just honest.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things I was wondering, and you kind of may have addressed it just there actually, but your faith, has that always been a part of your story? Did was that part of your childhood, or was it something that you found during these really difficult times?
So anybody that's been, raised in the urban areas, I was raised in 17th and Susquehanna on Colorado Street in North Philadelphia. Going to Sunday school was kind of like you had to, like your grandma, you had to go there. My dad's mom, she passed away, unfortunately. She took me every Sunday to church. And I remember one specific thing. It was the end of Sunday school, Sunday school, and it was a presentation, and I recited a whole Bible book. And you can't ask me today. It was kind of like when she passed away, that just left me. It was just like, that's it. And that was out of here. But religion, I knew right from wrong. And I think a lot of us go through that battle. We definitely do. We know right from wrong. We know where we belong. I always had a pull towards my faith, but I was too much into the world. Like, I wanted to do it my way versus waiting and having faith in something that's not tangible. And that is definitely something that we have an issue with today, as not only men, but just as people. We can't see Jesus. We can't see God. We can't see Allah. Every one of these religions is like tangible. But speaking about my religion, I have a book that holds me accountable. So I'm able to not see him, but I'm able to feel him by cracking open that book and reading that word. And I was away from that through my life cycle of finding my own way and being on my own since 16, and my mom passing away and living on the streets. I was away from that because I was angry at everybody. I was angry at the world. But when I came back to it, I realized that was home. It wasn't four walls. It wasn't, a physical address. It wasn't a P.O. box. That was my home, and I needed to stay in it. Am I perfect? Definitely not. No one's here is perfect. I'm definitely not perfect, but I grew that connection back, and it's something that I tussle with every single day, and I continue that connection. So, it's always been there. It's always been there, and it's in every single one of us. Nobody on this planet is without God in them in any type of way. That heartstring when you see something emotional or see something that's commandeering to the spirit, when a soldier comes home after being deployed for 12 months and the kid just turns around and see it, or when someone who's been in a bad accident, who's like about to die, come back to recovery and walking again, and you're like, man, you know what, I feel good off of that. That's God talking to you. There's nobody out here that doesn't have him living in him or her. It's just, when are you going to let him or her live through you?
Right.
That's the question. And I had to go through life in order to get to a point where I'm like, you know what? I'm done with this. I give up. I surrender. Live through me. And now he's every single day living through me, just giving life to me, breathing life into me, trying to breathe life into others. Everything that I'm saying right now is not me, it's him, So yeah, it's always been around since grandma,
Oh man, I wanted to go back to the whole supports. You were saying when you were going through this, like you felt like you didn't have anybody, and that was definitely the case, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just throwing it out there, I think it's important for people to remember, in those times where you get a diagnosis or something comes up, even that you're questioning maybe something about your child before you even get to that stage of, there's so many supports out there, right? Like even if you look on Facebook groups, Google, obviously we know is amazing. And now that, we're back to living life and, we don't have to worry about not meeting in person. If you even throw that in your Google search of, support groups or agencies in your community, something's going to come up. And I know, the hard thing is a lot of people think if I go, it means it's so, right? Yeah. And it's like, that's okay though. Even before the diagnosis, whatever, it's better to be supported when we're going through situations, whatever it is, to know that there's somebody else there that's been there, done that. And the difference is, yeah, we have family and friends, but they haven't necessarily walked through the same diagnosis that you have, right? So going to people that have walked through, are currently going through, that's a whole nother level in an area where you can continue to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Right. So just wanted to throw that out there because I think it's important.
It is. It is. I think what I've learned, and it's a shame, and this is like one of the things that I hope people understand from the work that I'm doing or what I'm doing out here in the community, is that don't wait till you get older in order to understand what is most important to you in life. We see it all the time where people are out here wilding, they doing whatever they want to, they're in the news, they're in the media, and then 40, 50 years later they talking about, thank God, I'm all into this and I'm all into that. And it's like, bro, like, why did you wait all these years to get to this point where you're recognizing that family is important, that giving back is important? Why can't you do that now? And I'm seeing it more with this generation, believe it or not. I'm seeing it more with this generation than any generation that I've been, a part of or visually been able to intake. And I think that's a good sign, but B, there's still a lot more work to do as far as getting everybody to see the value of life early versus later on. The value of life is not you. The value of life is impacting someone else, to serve someone else. That is the value of life. This is the reason why you get that euphoria when you help feed the homeless or when you go down to a shelter and donate your time. That feeling adds a couple more years to your life. Like, honestly, people say, oh, well, I'm young. How do you stay young? Oh, I don't stress. I keep my faith. That's real. That's honestly, that is real. You have people out here that down south that live forever. Why? Because they believe in the faith. They believe it's fact. They live forever. They born in like 1910. They still but they believe in faith and they believe in helping others, and they believe that at an early age. It is so many different keys to life that I'm realizing right now as an adult. And I'm sitting here like, if only I would have realized this when I was 20. If I only would have realized this when, I was out here on these streets sleeping from couch to couch, angry at the world, angry at everybody. If I would have really realized how much of an impact I would have been able to make if I only surrendered and start seeing people for who I thought they were versus what I seen they were, which means is I know you're a good person deep down inside. You got a lot of baggage with you. You got a lot of turmoil with you, but I know I can sit there and see those things.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
so I was just going to say, I just kind of wanted to take it back a little bit and talk a little bit more about Shane and growing up. What were some of the, well, I guess I'll say this. What did advocacy look like over the years with your son?
At first, it looked like it was a business. I'm gonna be quite honest for you. At first, it looked like I was sitting there and doing things to acquire funds for what knows what purpose. I didn't have a roadmap. I didn't have anything situated. I started a team with Autism Speaks. I was like, hey, I have a slogan, I have a very catchy slogan that not only personifies my son, but those individuals who are living autistics, who are living it, came out with it, raised over $2,500, donated it to Autism Speaks. That was it. So people got to meet my son, got to see the love that I have for him through pictures. I threw a fundraiser event. People were actually there. So they got to see a lot. But it was like, okay, so what happened with the money? It was like I donated it to an organization, and then that's it. So there's a lot of, we're not going to go into that. It's a lot of controversy between that, but we're not going to go into that. But
whenever money's involved,
it was more of the organization. It's a lot. It's a lot of red tape. Anyway, so it was that. Then I sat there and was like, people really need to understand my heart and understand where I'm at. And I'm like, Jay, are you ready for that? Because that means that you have to really put out there your thoughts and your ideas. I'm not going to be as flamboyant as Kanye, but shout out to Kanye. I still love Kanye. I have to be able to tell my story authentically. It can't be cookie cut. It can't be none of that. I got to tell people the highs and the lows. I got to open up my heart and my doors to the world, no matter if it comes with constructive criticism, bad criticism, whatever the case may be. I have to be transparent. And the reason why is because you can pay for 1,000, 100 million followers, but you can't pay for transparency. Mm-hmm. It's just something either you have or something that you have to fake. And I didn't fake it. I just told my story. And people were able to see that and be like, okay, he really is about something, And when I'm able to tell my story, I'm able to help strangers and people that I'd never met before get these calls and talk them off the ledge or just talk to them a little bit more. And then was able to set up my nonprofit and be like, okay, this is my vision. Now, since I've done boots to the ground, I'm in the field. You see me out here spending my own money to make sure that every child that comes to my resource table at events walks away with something, as well as the parent. You see me give out my personal phone number to strangers and be like, look, hit me up anytime. You see me give away some of my books for free that I paid out of my pocket. Like, look, here, take this. Let me sign it for you, but read it. Let me know if you need anything else. You've seen that. So now have you seen the proof of my heart? Now I'm going to make my own foundation that's going to continue that mission, but also build other organizations up so we can all come together. That's the process that it went to. It went from, where the money at, to, okay, he really about it, to, wow, he's doing this to help this in person. He's not asking for anything back. Like, what's going on? So that's been my role. That's been my battle. And actually, that was my resume, because this job that I have now required someone with a college degree, and I don't have that. I don't have that at all. But what I did have is I had the determination, the integrity. I had the track record of influencing people all over the world and communities. I work with organizations as far as Australia. A kid from North Philly was able to work with people from Australia that never seen me before. I got friends over in UK, never been to UK, but I have plenty of friends over there now because of this community. This community is awesome. But most importantly, you have to come correct. You got to come with your transparency, because all that, show off stuff, we can get that anywhere. You can buy that. You can buy 100 million followers easy and get that. You got to be transparent in this.
Yeah. The experience that comes with it, right? Like, that's priceless stuff right there.
Mm-hmm.
Blended families. So at the beginning, we were talking about that. Let's go into that. I mean, that can be a whole nother world all in itself for any child out there, right? And then you add the co-parenting and all that. But I think it's so important to touch on, because as you said, you guys divorced after that, and there's been, I think you said, Shane's 14, right? So 14 years. And now, you guys have been co-parenting and you're remarried, have a baby, and all that stuff going on. So you share, how has that looked like, the highs and the lows and everything in between? I would love to hear.
So first, shout out to Shay's mom and her boyfriend, Chris, Veronica and Chris. I have to say, one part of co-parenting, especially when it's the other parent, is meeting that partner. When his mom and Shane was moving in with her boyfriend, I mean, that was like what? Like, what's going on here? Like, hold up. Okay, all I'm asking, this was the only one thing I said: you're his mother. Your judgment is crown. I just need to meet him for myself. So we met, respectfully talked to him, introduced myself, asked, not demanded, but I asked. The reason why, Jay, you know what? That was a kind of weak move. No, it wasn't. I asked, what is your stance on discipline? I asked him, what is your stance on discipline? He told me, and I said, well, I think it should go this way. We can't do anything half the time if we're forcing our right and our reign over someone else that's doing for my son. He could possibly just been in a relationship with Shane's mother and not with my son. He said, yo, you know what? I love Shane. I want the best for him. I'm going to vow to take on that, that responsibility as well. So I have to give him some type of respect for that, even though this was my first time. So I did that, and we've been cool ever since. No problem. So that's one portion. Right. So now on my side, so you have 3 children whose father is in their lives. So that was another dynamic too, something I never experienced before, because now I was entered into their lives. So now I met their father, and I was asked the same question from him. So now it's like, it was like the total reverse. Like, what? Like, okay, all right. Well, and it was like, I mean, everybody's adults here, and I, when getting into this relationship and moving in, I told everybody here, was like, listen, I'm not, y'all grown to me. Y'all not, kids, y'all grown to me. So, I expect for y'all to take care of yourself the grown way. When I mean take care of yourself is, just make sure you're clean, just normal stuff that you'll teach a teenager. I can say that the reason why it wasn't that much difficulty for my wife now to love on Shane was that we were actually friends from 2013. So she was actually around to know about Shane and to see his growth through when I was on social media throughout all those years. And we remained friends the whole time until it was 2019. So all those years we was just friends. She seen Shane in the growth. She understood who he was as an individual and understood the passion that I had. When I had my online radio show, she understood that. When I had online television. So she's been there for every step. So it was easy. But for other single parents out there, before her, I was out there and I was dating. It's a very difficult and tough thing It's very scary too, because sometimes we feel as though we kind of hide our children because maybe we like this person so much and we don't want to scare them away. And I had a couple of ladies that was in my life that got scared away because of this, because of Shane's diagnosis. Back to where it's at now, everybody blends together. The baby, now that's the baby.
You're starting over.
Yeah, listen, this 40 and a baby. No, I'm gonna be 41 in 3 weeks. This is drawn. This is drawn. This is definitely not for the week. This is definitely not for the week. Listen, but I'm happy to be able to bring into this world a new life. And some people like Jay, it's kind of crazy right now, and that is true. It is very crazy right now in this world, but there are always people that are still out here that cannot have children. There are people out here. I worked at Children's Hospital at first in the security staff, and I had the unfortunate ability to escort the morticianers, I guess you would call them, to the morgue in Children's Hospital. When you see little body bags coming out of there, readily, I think you grow to appreciate the gift that God has given to you a little bit more. And I appreciate the ability to have another son that's healthy, that's, meeting his milestones, that is just a ball of sunshine, whereas though there was people saying their last goodbyes to their child. So, it's a blessing to leave a legacy on this planet, as much as I've been here, and hopefully they have the decision whether they want to carry it on or just leave it dead with me when my time comes and say, hey, he did it the best. We can't do it better than him. It is what it is. So every family, blended family or family just starting off together, is going to have their struggles and their ups and downs. I can tell you it gets worse before it gets better. This is the reason why, communication is the best, but also too, just growing up. You have to be mature enough to know that this is not really about you anymore. Once you said your vows and everything, is not about you anymore. It's about the other person, and you have to stick by that. You really have to stick by that, because there's a lot of people out here that switch sides and change, just like Dallas and Eagles fans. But you got you got to stay true. You got to stay true to what you vowed, and you got to maintain a sense of integrity, not only to your partner, but to the family, to those individuals that you are now part of their lives. So it's a very big responsibility, but it is what it is. 100%, 100 million% every single day,
No, it's great story. And the one thing I kind of want to go back to, and just for people who are in the position that you were in a few years ago. So let's go back to that fateful day where you got the diagnosis. As you mentioned, you went out, maybe had a little bit too many recreational beverages.
Oh yeah.
That you get in a time machine and have a conversation with Jamiel the next morning. What would you tell him after, he wiped the sleep out of his eyes and got out of that, got out of the little bit of a stupor that he may have been in?
I would tell him, definitely, listen, you got to man up. You got to tighten up. Your mom did not raise you to be this type of man. You are actually the type of man that just hurt your mom. You are that type of man right now that just hurt your mom. And I believe that you are better than that, but you have to believe that you're better than that. I would definitely 100% tell myself that would have left me like, what? like what's going on? Because I'm telling you, you never want to see your mom hurt. That is the worst feeling in the world, especially when you're a younger kid and you can't really do anything. You're a child, but having my mom cry on my shoulder so many times, it was just like a roadmap of what not to be. And at that point in time, yeah, I was that guy. I was that guy that did that to my mom. So that's something definitely that I would have brung back and told myself.
Absolutely. All right, now Jamiel, as we start to wrap up, I just want to give you the opportunity to share anything that you can with us. So obviously, we spoke about your one book. If we're interested in purchasing any of the books that you've written, that you've authored, or anything else that you've done. I know there's the podcast. Some of your previous online content. Can you just share all that with us so we know where we can find you?
All right. So you talked about this book, Life is a Puzzle. God gave you a cheat sheet. This is my first children's book, What Daddy Wants You to Know.
Nice.
Interactive book, lets you write out dream boards for your son. Your son has the option to do that for you. It's just a real interactive children's book. Let you put the child's name in here. All of my books, because there's a total of 7, everything that ranges from IEP to affirmation journal for men. You can find them all on Amazon or Barnes and Noble. On Amazon, you just go to books. You can type in my name, Jamiel Owens, and then all of my books will actually come up. The Awesome Show. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and that's spelled TheAusomeshow. Also, too, we are we just recorded the last 2 episodes of season 1, looking to come back for season 2. But my television show, The Awesome Show, is on rvntelevision.com. So that's rvn.television. rvntelevision, one word.com. I'm sorry. And just look up The Awesome Show. You'll see all my past episodes with the amazing guests. I'm around. I'm around. The one thing I can tell you is that I'm constantly doing things with the community. One thing about me is that I'm not afraid to be in some of the worst areas because that's my people. I was one of those individuals as well. And most importantly, I'm not afraid to bring in other individuals who may not be from those type of areas and really just connect the dots between 2 different type of cultures. I'm that type of person. So I'm always in community events. I'm always, volunteering for stuff. I'm always making my own type of events to help out the community with my nonprofit. So I'm around. That's what they that's what they say. I'm around. I'm outside. I'm outside. I'm doing what I got to do. But once again, thank you for having me here. Platforms like you guys really push the envelope as far as different perspectives, but not only that, gives the opportunity for advocates such as myself to address an audience that sometimes may not be directly focusing on things like autism or other intellectual disabilities, but may be familiar with it. So for people to hear me out will now, on your platform will now open up the floodgates. Like, oh, you know what? I have a cousin, or I have somebody, or somebody that I know may have autism, and now the questions start rolling in, which is great because that's why we're here. That's why people like myself are here. People that I work with, my colleagues are here to really engage with the public and connect with them too. So I appreciate you guys having me. More to come. It's more to come. My story's not done yet. Like I said, birthday in 3 weeks. Another year added on, which means I got to put in twice the work. That's why I do another year, twice the work.
There you go.
Awesome. Well, Jamiel, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. And for everyone who watched or listened, thank you for letting us disrupt your everyday.
Thanks for listening to the Disrupt the Everyday podcast. For more ways to listen, connect with us on social media. To be a guest or to partner with us, check out our link tree at Disrupt the Everyday. Join us next time for more ways to disrupt the everyday.